Well, it is a big day for the Valley Meat Company out of Roswell because we could find out if it can open today.
But even if a judge here in New Mexico gives it the green light, there could be another problem. You see, yesterday, Congress cut money for inspections at horse slaughterhouses in the U.S. It was part of the budget that now heads to President Obama's desk. The last horse slaughterhouse in the U.S. to close was in 2007, a year after Congress first cut funding for the inspections. Now, funding was restored in 2011, and Valley Meat has been trying ever since to open up its plant in Roswell. We'll, of course, keep you posted. Should New Mexico's minimum wage go up from $7.50 an hour to $10 an hour?
Well, some state legislators say yes, and they want a constitutional amendment to let you decide if that should happen, even though they say the governor and some Republicans don't like the idea.
So if the governor's unwilling to do it, I'm pretty confident that the Democratic legislature will get this done and put a constitutional amendment on to allow the people to speak and allow the people to increase the minimum wage.
A $10 an hour minimum wage would be one of the highest for a state in the whole country, but it'll take some work to get there because some Republicans are against it, saying it'll hurt the people it's designed to help.
If you're a small business owner and you have a fixed income for, human resources, what happens if, that those expenses go up by half again as much? You're going to have to let some people go, so it's a bad idea.
Republican Representative Nate Gentry there says the state GOP wants smaller increases in the minimum wage instead of one big one. Well, Democrats now have their goals for the legislative session that starts next week. They want more money for education, but their plan with this money is a little different than the governor's. They want to pump more money into early childhood development, focusing on kids as soon as they're born instead of waiting until they're old enough to go to school. They also want to use money from the permanent fund. It has about $11 billion in it, but it's rarely used unless there's an emergency.
Now, the permanent fund has been considered and called at times a rainy day fund. I would respectfully suggest to you that when it comes to education and the well-being of children in this state, it is a hurricane, not a rainy day.
The governor does want more money for schools too, but wants the public education department to be in charge of it, not individual districts. Well, part of the governor's plan is to spend millions of dollars on reading coaches for kids who are struggling.
It's called the Reads to Lead program. We went to check out the program to find out how it's working in APS. The district has 9 reading coaches. They work with teachers every week. The coaches basically work with small groups of students and show them how to actually sound out words.
The most effective component of teaching is who's teaching in the classroom. You can have a highly effective teacher and you will see phenomenal growth among their students.
Well, we're going to find out in February if the Read to Leads program will be funded. APS officials say it could take about 3 years to see exactly how successful the Reads to Leads program is. Lawmakers say they may have finally found the answer to be able to clear criminal charges from people's records.
Yeah, we're talking about people who didn't necessarily do anything wrong. Last night on Special Assignment, we showed you how Senate Majority Leader Michael Sanchez has tried repeatedly to pass bills to delete criminal charges from public databases for people who are victims of ID theft, even though these charges are for things they didn't end up doing. But Sanchez goes a step further. In the past, the bills called for these charges to get expunged over time. Well, the senator plans to introduce a bill this session that would get rid of legitimate charges too. Listen.
If you've done something wrong and you've paid your debt to society, why should you continually have to be punished along the way?
These bills have been vetoed every time they've been brought up, in fact, twice by Governor Susana Martinez. So Senator Sanchez is considering taking the issue to you, the voter, to see that part of the story. Join us tonight at 9 o'clock on 2 Casa or go online anytime to KRQE.com. All right, we now have the lapel camera video of a police shooting in Albuquerque where a guy tried to commit suicide by cop. Now, we do have to warn you, some of this video is quite graphic. Take a look.
Put the gun down, sir! Put the gun down!
All right, back in November, DWI officer Pete Romero pulled over this gentleman, Robert Garcia, for driving just 5 miles an hour and swerving near Montgomery and Washington. Garcia had this, a pellet gun, but the officer, Mr. Romero, couldn't tell if that gun was real or not. Romero ordered Garcia to drop it over and over again, and he refused to.
Jump out of the car with the Okay. I think it's just a pellet gun, but
Well, it turns out Garcia was being investigated for child molestation. His family told police he was suicidal. Garcia survived and is now charged with aggravated assault on a peace officer.